What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Almost Functional. I'm here with Luis Betancourt, or General Slaughter, to go over the Ork Codex. Uh, I know a lot of you probably know, but Luis runs the OCS training over on his channel, Onslaught Gaming 40K, which I'm a guest on a lot, as well as Nick Herding and Todd Morrison. So tell us a little more about what you do and stuff, Luis. I know a lot of people are viewers for both shows, but just in case we get anybody new, let them know a little about yourself.
Absolutely. Hey, how's everyone doing? And usually, what I get people to do is "huh," right? It's just an old military war cry. So, what I'm about, I'm ex-military, of course, as you could tell, right? I do tournament organizing in the state of Florida, the beautiful Sunshine State, and here I do tournament organizing locally and in Kissimmee as well. I've been doing this for around 9 years. Um, I've been a part of a lot of different companies and entities. I've done things where I've worked with ATC. I will work with Nova next year. I've done things with Crucible. I'm actually the head judge for the GT portion of Crucible. Please make sure to go check that out. It's in September 6th through the 8th in Kissimmee, or rather Orlando, Florida. Um, so yeah, locations. Been doing this for a very long time. Part of a lot of affiliations like UTC, which is Goonhammer, um, SGA, which is the Southeast Gaming Alliance, here in the eastern, southeastern regions, where we all carry Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and I want to say Tennessee, maybe it was. But basically, I'm always part of a collective group, do a lot of things for the community. Always love it. And it's a tribute. Thank you very much, Matt, for the invitation today. And we're going to talk about some Whoa! Orcs, baby. I love it. So I'm a longtime Orcs player. If you were to ask me, what is my day one army? Orcs is probably not my day one army, but our Orcs is definitely one of my favorite armies. I've been playing it for a very long time. I've won multiple GTs with Orcs. I also won 2 or 3 years ago Best General and Best in Army at ATC Tennessee with Orcs. Um, so I've had a lot of play with Orcs. Every time you see me at an ATC event actually playing and not running it or judging it, I'm 99% of the time running Orcs. That is my skew list. Those are my fun times when I play as a gamer. I just like to have a good time, right? Even with my world leaders and Harlequins as well. But Orcs is definitely a fun time all the time. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, no problem. It's nice to everybody get to know a little more about you more than just the host in TO. Actually, he does actually play this game occasionally.
It started TTS just recently too, which is
Yep.
nice. Shout out to David. David would show me how to play TTS. So and Nick Herding too. He was
Yep.
giving me a little bit of an insight on that. So shout
That's
out to him.
Big David Ozawa for all you guys who know who he is.
Yep, the
Uh,
mountain.
all right, so we're going to roll here into this Ork Codex. Let me pull this up. All right, so right here you have the basic army rule, which is WA. If your army faction is orcs, once per battle at the start of the battle round, you can call a WA. If you do, until the start of the next battle round, the WA is active for your army. Units from your army with this ability are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advance. You add one to the strength and attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models from your army with this ability, and models from your army with this ability have a 5-up infall save. Seems like a pretty
And,
solid and common trait for orcs.
yeah, and just to give people a little bit of details on how this works, right? So it starts at the beginning of the battle round, right? So obviously you can't manipulate dice. Dice gods are going to give you first turn or second turn, no matter what, right? I have seen, and many people believe as well, that going second as orcs and then why, right, is a little bit, it's kind of toned down a little bit, um, because it ends at the beginning of the next battle round, right?
Yep.
So you'll get it during their turn, but you only really get it to do it on your second turn. and it doesn't seem as strong. So you want to try to get first turn as much as possible, right? Then you can wall at the beginning of your turn, try to get that 5+ invul, try to get that advance and charge. Also that +1 attack and +1 strength, right? It's very powerful, is what I'm saying, once you go first and take first turn.
Yeah, because it makes sense, because if you go second and you declare WA at the beginning of their turn, they can play back away from you, start countering your WA before you have an ability to do anything. Whereas if you have start a turn, they might think you're going to do it next turn, but if they position to avoid it, you could hold it for another turn.
Correct.
So you lose the initiative off of it. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. And a pro tip too. I think WA now for 10th edition is for the Codex itself, right? I think it's best to start it on either turn 2 or 3. Before you had the speed, right? You had the ability to kind of throw things out there and catch people very quickly. I mean, you can still do it turn 1, right? Especially when you're doing search and destroy the quarter deployments. But it's not as good as it used to be, right? The game is a little bit different now. I think that I use it predominantly 90% of the time, if not more, on second turn than anything else.
And that could be heavily influenced by the terrain you play on. GW terrain, I believe, holding it a turn is really viable because there's normally a lot of good hiding spots. If you're playing somewhere where they have more player placed and potentially end up with an open middle, that may give you incentive to maybe try to pop it earlier. So just, this could vary on mission and terrain layouts, but yeah, I agree with you. Most of the time, holding it a turn or two is probably the best option.
Absolutely. Don't forget about WTC layouts as well, right? Like their terrain setup. You could do orcs can play very well in WTC, especially infantry models. So
yeah, I don't have much experience with that, but yeah, I've only really played player placed in GW for the most part. But yeah, I hear WTC a lot of people like that. All right, so just scrolling down, the first detachment we come to is War Horde. It gives everybody with orcs keyword sustained hits 1. That seems pretty solid. I think this is one of the ones you said you like, Lewis.
I personally like that. When I first opened up the book, right, the digital version of the book, that is. But when I first opened it up and I checked out all of the detachments, right, I like this one, and this is why. Every single stratagem that they have for the Warhorde is very familiar. It's actually everything that you're used to playing with in 9th edition and the beginning of 10th edition, right? All 6 of those stratagems are very powerful. Have utility every single either phase or turn. I feel like this one has the most utility when it comes to stratagems. I also like the fact that sustained hits across the board for your entire army is very strong, right? And it's more thematic for an orc player, right? So I look at it more as a theme as opposed to competitive. I think it has some mid to high tier competitive play into it, but I really think that more thematically, this is the more thematic type of detachment. Sustained hits, right? You want to play with boys. The only thing you want to do is fight, right? So you want to get in there. You want to hit even harder. And it plays very well with everything that Orc does. So.
All right. And so what about the enhancements?
Their enhancements are incredible. Yeah. So their enhancements are really good, especially if you're putting like knobs or mega knobs in trucks, right? Because for the first one, you have Follow Me Lads, right? So you put that on a Warboss or Mega Armor Warboss, and he gives his unit 2 extra movement, right?
Nice.
So mega knobs being 5 puts them up to 7. Your knobs being 6 puts them up to 8, right? So now essentially you have 3-inch, disembarkment +2 plus your movement, and if you've WAD, right, you get that advance, and then you could also get a charge out of that as well, right? So that it actually helps a lot, especially with orcs. And when you want to get stuck in really quick, right? I see a lot of value in this enhancement, and that was another thing too. The enhancements for Warhorde are really, really good too. I think they all have some type of utility. I think you could take any of them, and they're really good.
Yeah. So with a heavy armored orc knob unit, you could get basically 16 inches out of a transport.
Essentially, yeah.
And so it'd be 17 with regular knobs. So yeah, that'll get you in range real quick.
Yep. Yeah, and if you're playing like we were talking about before, search and destroy, right? There's only 18 inches between the two, right? So you have with mega knobs a 2-inch charge if they're on the line, a 1-inch charge for knobs if they're on the line, right? So you could get stuck in really quick.
So that's a situation where if you got first turn and deployment worked out, where you might pop that turn 1 if you got a bunch of knobs on the line.
That would be one of the times that I pop a wall. Yeah. Turn 1. Absolutely.
I'm going to start calling you Papa Wall.
Papa Wall.
Papa Wall. All right, then the Kill Choppa, giving devastating wounds to an orc, especially when they can get extra attacks from wand stuff, that seems pretty solid.
Very, very strong. I think between the sustained attacks, like you were saying, and just the amount of attacks, I would probably try to put it on an infantry war boss, right? The one with the power claw. He has 9 attacks on the charge. He has more attacks than the mega knob, the mega war boss, right? So I would try to take advantage of that with 9 attacks, sustained hits, devastating wounds. I think it's probably strongest teched into him, but there are a lot of good options that it can go into.
Yeah, anytime you have something that triggers off critical hits or critical wounds, the more attacks you can throw at it, the better most of the time. So yeah, so if he's coming in with 9 attacks, that seems like a pretty solid option. Then the next one is Cunning but Brutal. His unit is able to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. That's always a good thing to have.
That one, I'll be honest with you, for orcs, I think that's pretty weak. I think that's the weaker of the enhancements.
Because you should run through them when you hit them.
You should run through them when you hit them. If you're falling back with orcs, you're probably in a bad position anyways, right?
True,
unless, yeah,
especially if it's your beefy unit that you're putting a good character in. Yeah, you're not hoping they don't get sandbagged by anything. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's the weaker of the 4.
And then a cyborg body, a 4 feel no pain. If you got a bunch of wounds on, if you got a bunch of wounds on somebody, that's really good.
Super solid, super solid. Putting it on just a regular infantry boss is good.
All right, now we got some stratagems. So we got Careen. That's just basically when your vehicle destroys, you get to, if your vehicle blows up, you get to move it before it explodes. Just try to get the mortals somewhere else. That's
the old classic Careen, baby. So basically how this works is once you're destroyed, you get to move your vehicle and explode right in front of some type of unit, right within range of it. So it's the old classic Careen. Everyone loves it. It's probably the one thing people joke about the most when they see it on the table. I've never seen anyone feel like it's a gotcha moment, even though I never try to, I always tell people, if you explode this, I'm going to potentially Careen if you're within range of me, so I can explode in front of you. The reaction is always, it's hilarious to people. People are like, "What? You get to move and explode in front of me?" Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Well, because you got a 1 in 6 chance to happen. You still have to roll the 6 to blow up before you can do it. So it's not like an auto thing. Correct. So you got to get lucky to be in position and then just take advantage of it. So if it happens, it happens.
Correct.
And then hard as nails. Oh, go ahead. You got something else on that?
No. I was just gonna say, and basically there is no way in this detachment either to make it auto explosion. So yeah, you got a 1 in 6 chance to do it. So yeah.
And Artist Nails, I really like this one. In your opponent's shooting or fight phase, just after the enemy unit has selected its target, 1 orc unit from your army, excluding grots, monsters, and vehicles. But that's all your infantry. That's your mega knobs, all that stuff. You can give them neg 1 to wound. I mean, this is mounted too, right? So you can put this on like Squigosaur, boss, some of that stuff that's already hard to kill.
Everything in the book is orcs. So keyword orcs. So excluding grots, monsters, right? Where it says that in vehicles.
Yep.
So even those, like you were saying, absolutely. So you Squig Hawk boys, you can put it on them. So people who are running that beast snag a detachment, right? or sorry, not the beast snagget attachments, but the units themselves will be able to use this. So it's really good. I like it. I love this one. I think this is one of the strongest ones. -1 to wound, really good.
Well, especially since they're T5 across the board, so they're already skewing a lot of the tipping points for wounds. So adding this on top will really mess with a lot of armies.
Yep.
Then we got Orcs is never beaten. Fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One Orc unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more attacking units attacks. This just gives you can give one of your units a fight on death in the fight phase.
For free and no rolls, this is one of the best stratagems for fight on death because it's automatic.
Yeah, it's 2 CP, but it's automatic.
Yes, and it's worth it. If you had to kind of, do the pendulum, right, and decide if you wanted to do 1 CP and roll it or 2 CP and automatic, I'd do 2 CP all day long.
Yeah, especially against a lot of these fight first armies.
Absolutely.
Run into the custodes, they're like, oh, well, we're fighting first, we're on the objective or whatever. Like, that's right, I'm still taking a bunch of you down with me.
That's right. That's right. I think, this is one of the strongest as well.
Yeah, anything that helps Orcs get more attacks is always a good thing.
Yep. And if you're running Grots, you're getting that free CP, hopefully, from rolling a 4-up and holding objective markers.
So, Grots, if you're holding an objective marker with a Grot, they give you CP?
They do. They do.
All right, so we got mob rule. End of your command phase, 1 mob unit from your army that contains 10 or more models and is not below half strength. Select 1 friendly battle-shocked Orc infantry unit within 6 of that mob. That unit is no longer battle-shocked. So you can unbattle shock another Orc unit. All right, now here's a question. This is end of your command phase. Is this at the same time as scoring objectives? So could you turn a unit back on and still score an objective with them that turn?
Yes, because scoring is afterwards. Correct.
All right, so this is before scoring objectives. So you could fail the battle shock, and if another unit's there, turn them back on and not lose your objective.
And remember, it goes by initiative priority too. So obviously you'll have initiative by using this, right? So you'll decide. But ultimately, scoring is throughout WTC rules, right? And their FAQ, scoring is at the ultimate end. So you'll be able to do this before that.
Cool. That's what I thought.
Which
just
is really
confirming for everybody watching.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Which is really strong for your purpose, right? And for what you're detailing. Is that you unbattle shock them. Now you have that 10 or 15 on primaries or whatnot, right? And that's super strong. That can come in clutch for you, turn battle round 4 and 5.
And not just that, now they're eligible to do not actions, but actions again. They're eligible to get strats put on them. Like, I like that a lot. Then we got Unbridled Carnage, which is in the fight phase. 1 Orc unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5 scores a critical hit. So that's really nice. You put that on that guy that's getting devastating wounds already. Now you're popping on 5s.
Yep, it's really strong. Like I said, all these stratagems are very strong. I love them. Scoring a critical hit. Well, remember, dev wounds is on wounds, and this is on hits. So essentially, you're getting sustained hits, you're saying.
Well, the one guy was getting dev hits. Well, this is on... this is a hit. I was thinking wound. Right, so this... Actually, your whole army has sustained hits. Yeah, so this just works. Every unit in the army gets that buff.
Yeah.
That's for nice,
And you get it on 5s, which is awesome. So you put that on mega knobs, knobs. I'm a real fan. I get what everybody's doing now, right? I know a lot of people are loving the mega knobs with the 4+ vulnerable, 4+ feel no pain, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm a bigger fan of knobs. I like more attacks. If you're playing Orcs, right, you want to do 40 attacks plus a Warboss attached to them, right? And if you're doing critical hits on 5s, it gets gross really fast.
And then this one's really nice. Here we go. Start of your movement, 1 infantry unit, add 2 to advance and charge rolls. So now it goes back to those guys we were talking about earlier, getting 17 to 18 inches out of a vehicle, or 16 to 17. Now they're getting 18 to 19 inches out of a vehicle and adding 2 to their charge.
Yes. So now you're +6.
Yeah.
You're +6 to everything you're doing that phase. Everything you're doing. So if you're from movement to charge, you're +6 to everything you're doing. Very strong in combination. So if you got follow me, lads, here we go. that unit is zipping around that board quick.
Yep. Yeah, that's +6, and if you count coming out of the vehicle, it's +9.
Yes.
Like that's yeah, I really
That
like it.
matters. That matters. That's a good point you brought up too. Yeah, that matters.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's worth throwing some trucks and stuff in there.
Now it won't. Now, if you come from Deep Strike, I don't think it works at coming out of Deep Strike, right?
What?
But you do get the timing of it. The timing, I
No,
don't think
yeah,
works.
because this is start of your movement phase. Reserves are end of your movement phase. Yes, you can't use
Correct.
it on a
Correct.
unit that came out of Deep Strike, but they couldn't advance
Yeah.
anyway, so you'd really only be getting half the strat anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. But still, even a
Yep.
7+ charge would have been good, right? I just didn't
Oh
see
yeah,
the timing of it.
yeah. It's start. All right, and next up we got the Big Hunt. So this looks like it's more like your Beast Boys and stuff.
This is all beast snaggers. This is all kill. You know, the skill rigs, the hunter rigs,
All right.
squig hawk boys, things like that, right? Now this can be a very strong detachment, right? I think this has some play if you're teching into the beast snagger boys, the skill rigs, the hunter rigs, and the squig hawk boys. The one downside that I don't appreciate too much is that their detachment ability is for only one unit. You get all these buffs to, right? So you have to select the unit to do it all. I mean, thematically, it's very good if you know what you're going to fight into, right?
Yeah.
Competitively, it you'll really never know what you're going to fight into, right? You don't know if someone's going to be have a very strong castle, Death Star type unit.
Yeah.
People can just play MSU, right? Like Votan, and not have a Death Star unit
Yeah.
and have mostly MSU, and it could be a complete waste. So I like it when detachments have value. This has minimal value in my eyes, at least, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, you bring this into Gene Stealer Cult, you're really getting no buff.
Correct.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you pick a monster vehicle or warlord, and even if he's on the battlefield, or if he's in the if your opponent does not have any of these on the battlefield or embarked with them, so if they're in the transport, you can choose them. But if they have none of that, you can choose a regular character, and then until your next command phase, each time a beast snag unit from your army declares a charge, you can reroll the charge roll. Each time they make an attack, you can improve the AP.
Yep.
Yeah, but this only works on one enemy unit, so yeah, that's definitely per turn. So it's definitely not. Definitely seems a lot weaker than the other one, unless you happen to run into Imperial Knights or something like that.
And that enemy unit has to be monster vehicle or warlord too.
That's what I'm saying.
You could get warlord, keyword warlord, if you have a warlord attached to a unit, just for people who don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could get it on that unit that they're attached to. It doesn't have to be just a warlord; it's the unit and the warlord, right?
Yep.
But it's still very selective in what you can tech it into. So
That makes sense. All right, so enhancements. Glory Hog, you can give a Beast Boss on Squigosaur and his unit a 9-inch scout ability. It's not
that's
bad.
strong with squig
That's
hogs.
strong. Yep.
That's strong with squig hogs.
Yep. Scrag every stash at the end of your command phase. The bear's within range of objective marker. Oh, you basically can stick in objective marker.
Yep. Boys can do that, so you could just do that with boys.
That's not bad because you tend to be pushing with anyway, so you do that to one of the ones closer to your zone as you're running to the opponent's side.
Correct.
We got Proper Killy. Add one of the damage characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the bearer. That can be solid. Surly has a Squigoth. Beast Boss Squigosaur. The bear's looting unit. Each time attack targets that unit. If the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness of the unit, subtract one from the ruined roll.
Yeah.
So they got one really good enhancement. The others are okay.
They're okay.
But they're not good enough to overcome the detachment rule so far. So we got...
No, I don't think so. Not strong enough to take competitively.
Yep. So then we got Drag It Down. One beast snag unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the phase, melee weapons equipped by model's unit have the sustained hits 1 ability. In addition, each time a model unit makes a melee attack that targets your prey on a critical, it's 5 up. So once again, this gets better with your prey, but you give sustained hit ones to one unit as opposed to the other detachment where you just give it to everybody.
Yep.
If an enemy unit falls back from one of your units here, you can follow up, basically, just not re-engage. You can cause mortal wounds to the enemy. So they got some okay stratagems, but yeah, still overall, I think this is just the weakest of the detachments we've seen yet. So let's roll down into the next one, see if it's innovative. So we got the Cult of Speed.
Now, this is my personal favorite, not super competitive at all anymore that I see, right? Currently, it's still only kind of been like a week out, right? That this actual book has been out. So I have purchased, I've always loved Cult of Speed. I purchased everything. I used to run it. There was a hilarious moment that Matt saw me before, right? He was like, you finished the game in your deployment phase. And it was hilarious. And I actually did. While everyone was still deploying, I had finished the game already. But those were the better days for Cult of Speed.
Yeah, when they just basically picked up knights in 2 turns normally.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not the same anymore. They've really toned down the airplanes. I've tried to create some lists. This is the one I was looking most forward to play before the book came out. And Games Workshop was leaking what type of detachments they were going to put out, right? Like I was already kind of fantasizing what kind of Cult of Speed. They have some play, right? They're not a trash army. I just don't think that with the weak amount of shooting and the ballistic skill, right? Between the two, right? Because the Wasbomb blasters no longer have as many shots as they used to. They used to have 2d6 shots and d6 on their other weapon. Now they're all single weapons, d3. The Megatrack Scrapjet it is no longer 3d3 shots plus another rocket launcher. It's just like d3 now plus 1. So everything that used to make them very good because orcs suck in shooting, right? They really toned it down and made them a lot worse. Now, what I do see in retrospect, right, is that you can take anything now. So you can take boys. You don't have to be locked into just vehicles. So you can take things to kind of play the objectives and then use the vehicles to kind of go out there, do shooting, which is not really going to do much, and then charge as well in your WOG, right? I think that compensates slightly that you're able to charge as well, but you only get it for 1 turn, right? So, and you get to fall back as well.
Yep.
And do it again, but like I said, it's not the strongest. It's not a lot of attrition, not a lot of high volume attack. So,
yeah, but if you want to run Speed Freaks, advance and shoot and fall back and shoot for what that army does is really nice.
Yeah,
then we got
so.
The Death Killer War. Go ahead.
I think the detachment rule is pretty cool, right? Yep. So essentially, all of their shooting becomes assault weapons, right? They don't get the assault weapon keyword, but you're still eligible to shoot after you advance, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. It helps you also do actions and things like that, but for what they have in the little attrition, the little volume of shots that they have, right? They're solid. They're solid.
All right, so then their enhancements, we got the Wasblaster for the Death Killer Wartrike. Basically, in your shooting phase, after his unit has shot, if he's not within engagement range, they can make a normal move of up to 6 inches, and then they can't charge. That's good. Pop out, shoot someone, run back behind the building, shoot, move on to objective. All sorts of things you can do with this. That's pretty nice. Then we got Faster Than Use, Orcs Infantry model only. Each time the bearer's unit disembarks from a transport, after that transport has made a normal move, the bearer's unit is still eligible to declare a charge this turn. Oh, I actually really like that. Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, Land Raiders. So you get basically the Land Raider rule.
All right, so you got your Speed Freaks. You throw a Knob unit in transport. Running. Yeah.
Yeah. You just get assault ramps, which is awesome. This is probably the best one. The other ones are locked into the Death Killer Wartrike. which kind of really bums me out about this list as well, is that it only affects the war trikes. So,
all right. So then Squig tires, War Trike. Each time the model's bear, it makes consolidations, moves 6 instead of 3. That's solid. Then
yeah,
Speed makes right, Ork models only. In your command phase, if the bearer or transport the bearers embarked within is within 9 inches of one or more enemy unit, roll 1d6. On a 3-up, you gain 1 CP.
that's
That's
solid.
okay, but if you're already running Grots, I don't think you
Yeah,
can gain both CP, so you
no, you
probably
can
really don't
only
need
gain a
this
maximum of
because
one.
you're probably taking a couple cheap Grot units to hold your back objectives anyway.
Correct. Yep. And you don't want to take that enhancement. It's just going to be it's one better, right? But
yeah, you got to spend points for it,
you got to
and it's a
spend points
character,
for it.
and then you got to keep that character safe. It's like probably not.
And then you're giving that character an enhancement that you don't want to take, so you're taking them away from the better things, right? So
Yep. So then, strategy, we got Speediest Freaks. Your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just dread from enemy unit has selected its targets. One Speed Freaks or Trucks unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, models of your unit have a 5-up invul save. If your unit is a vehicle unit with an unmodified toughness of 8 or less, you get a 4-up invul save.
yep.
That's not bad.
I mean,
That's pretty...
it would be awesome if you could take buggies, any flavor of buggies in units of 3, but because this only goes to 1 now, and they're only a unit composition of 1, it's a great stratagem. Just no real. I mean, it's great for your death copters.
Well, I was thinking about your truck with your knobs. If you don't want to charge this turn, if you want to charge your next turn, since you can jump out of the vehicle, if you have that enhancement, it just keeps, hopefully, maybe keep your truck alive an extra turn to get you in position for that charge you want.
Yeah, you go to a 66% chance if you have a wall to a 50% chance of surviving, right?
Yep.
Something that is relatively weak, anyways. Trucks are toughness 8 and only 10 wounds, so tick for tack, right?
Yeah, so T8 with a 4-up invul, that basically doubles your wounds. You got to do twice as enough, but
you got to roll the dice.
I'll just have David roll for me. He'll make them all. All right, so then we got Blitzifier, your shooting phase. One Speed Freak unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the lethal hits ability. And each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit within 9 inches, a critical hit is scored only 5 instead of a 6. That's not bad. So depending on what you're shooting with, given lethal hits, if you're trying to shoot something that's hard to wound.
Yeah.
And you can't use it with Storm Stratagem in the same phase. So you can't use them on the same unit.
Correct. Yep. So it's all right. It's solid.
Yeah. Squig Flinging. That just sounds cool. Your movement phase, just after a Speed Freak or Truck unit from your army ends a normal, advance, or fallback move, that Speed Freak or Truck unit, select one enemy unit within 9 inches of your unit. That enemy unit must take a Battle Shock test, and when doing so, subtract 1 from the result. I'm not big on stuff that makes people take tests on your turn because they rally at the beginning of their turn. It's very rarely that impactful for anything.
Correct. I mean, it works. It works great against other orcs. Because having a leadership of 7 and then trying to roll it an 8, it's pretty good for that. It's solid.
I mean, there's these like if it's turn 5 and you're scoring at the bottom of the turn and you're down a couple points and you don't have the models to take the objective from them, so you Hail Mary and they fail this and you win the game. Like, I can see spots, but it's not going to be something that's you're going to use every game or something that's reliable for anything.
Very subjective, very niche. Yep.
So we got Full Throttle. Your charge phase, just after a Speed Freaks unit from your army ends a charge move. Until the end of the turn, each time a model in your unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. +1 to wound. I always love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a real good strat.
That's a really good strat, especially if you're shooting rockets on all of your buggies and things like that, or your death copters, right? That are strength 5 and might be hitting Marines, wounding on 2s. A lot of attacks, right? So it could be very good, very solid, I say.
Yeah, we're playing knights, shooting some of your stuff in there. You're winning on 4s. Well, now you're winning on 3s with your big, it can really change a lot. So we got Storm. your shooting phase, once speed streaks through your army that has not been selected to shoot. Till the end of the phase, ranged weapons have sustained hit 1s, and within 9, they have sustained hits 2. That's really cool. And once again,
That's really good.
you can't use that in conjunction with Blitzifier stratagem. But so you have the option of lethal hit and tough stuff, or getting extra hits against stuff that's just lots of it, but you're wounding it all right. And then we got.
But I mean, you put that on a boys unit, right? Or you put that on a knobs unit with PK. You know, PK is for power claws.
Yep.
That gets very disgusting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, the amount of attacks orcs normally get in combat. Oh, this is only on ranged weapons, though.
Is it only range?
Yep, ranged weapons. This is speed fix. So it's more like your buggies and stuff running around shooting.
Death Copters.
Yes. Yep.
Death Copters would be your best choice.
Yep. Then we get more gets over here. Opponent's movement phase just after enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move. One speed fake unit from your army that is within 9 of the enemy unit, not within engagement range, you can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. So just an extra move in the opponent's movement phase. Just after, so if somebody falls out of combat with you, or ends a normal move or advance near you, you can get a free move. So these strats are okay. This seems like a solid detachment. Not quite as over the top as the first one, I think, but I think you can do well with that one.
Now, this one right here is one of my favorite competitive ones, right? So this is going to be one of the 3 that I think is the most competitive out of the 6 detachments.
All right.
Dread, as I like to call it, Dread Mafia, is very, very strong. I think that if you tech into Stompas, Morkanauts, Killicans, things like that, I even have a list wrote up for the show as well, just to kind of give you an idea of what a competitive list of this would look like. Now, this is just to let everyone know, right? A lot of people are going to be running another detachment that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but this one right here, Dread Mob, is probably going to be your most expensive one to run. So you're not going to see a lot of people running this one. And when I say expensive, I mean money-wise, dinero, right? You're going to have to invest a lot of money to get into this army unless you've been collecting these throughout the years. You have to give all those big vehicles. You got to get you a Stompa. You got to get you at least 9 Killicans, right? It's going to be expensive. But I also think that, you know, you play to win, you pay to win, right? So.
Yeah. And, Lewis has 3 lists we're going to run through from the 3 detachments he likes best after we get through all these. So we got the detachment rule, try that button. Each time a mech, orc walker, or grot vehicle from your army is selected to shoot or fight, roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, they get sustained hits 1. On a 3 to 4, they get lethal hits. And on a 5 to 6, a critical wound improves their AP by 2. And you can also choose to just pick one of these, but then all your weapons get hazardous.
Yep.
And if your weapon has hazardous from more than one source, you fail on a 1 or 2 instead of just a 1.
Yep. Which this can get pretty hilarious because a lot of weapons already have hazardous that you're taking, especially if you're taking the Mega Blasters. So they can have double hazardous. So you can kill yourself faster than your opponent can sometimes.
And Gretchen become battle line in this.
Yes, they do.
So that means you can take 6 units of them?
Correct.
All right. So then we got some enhancements here. Smoky Gubbins, mech model only. Model in the bear's unit have the stealth ability, so give his whole unit -1 to hit. It's never a horrible thing.
No, you got some stealthy gets, right?
Yep. Then we got a super glowy thing.
I love the names, dude. The names are the best. This one, it says, try that button. It used to be called don't press that button.
But you don't tell that to an orc. An orc's going to try that button.
Yes, he is indeed.
So this is also for a mech model only. You select one enemy unit with an 18, invisible, and you roll a dice. On a 1 to 2, they take a battle shock test. On a 3 to 4, they take D3 mortal wounds. And on a 5 or 6 until the start of your next command phase, Each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. All right. So yeah, so that's between the stealth and this, you're getting multiple ways to make it harder to hit you.
Absolutely.
Then we got Press It Fasta, a mech model only. Each time a bearer's unit is selected to shoot, when rolling to determine which ability the unit's weapon gained from try that button, roll 1 additional d6 until the end of the phase. Ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit gain both button effects generated by those rolls. If a duplicate button effect is rolled, it has no additional effect. So for this, you could choose one and then roll another, or could you choose both and give yourself hazardous twice?
The wording on it says actually they both have to be rolled.
All right, so if you do this, you have to roll both. You can't choose either.
You have to roll both. You can't choose either, and
Okay.
you'll re-roll any duplicates, right? So if you get a duplicate or something,
No, it says if you get a duplicate, it doesn't do anything.
Ah, okay.
So instead of choosing, you're just taking a gamble that you're going to roll the one you want plus an extra one. And this says each time it's selected to shoot, roll and determine. It doesn't say may, it just says it is. So if you take this, you have to do it, it looks like. So his unit has to roll 2 each turn. I don't see a may.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a downside to this. If you lose the option of picking, and you always have to roll the 2.
They need to fix the wording on this. They need to say that, instead of rolling, when you determine which ability that unit's weapons gain, right?
Yep. Unless that's the way they wanted it.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing. You're giving up your chance to pick one for the option to roll 2.
To roll 2. Yeah. Which I like. It's very thematic, right? Very thematic, especially to this detachment itself.
Yeah, well, that's an Orky thing. Yep.
Yeah.
So then we got Get Finder goggles, mech model only. I can give his unit ignore cover.
There's not going to be a lot of times you're going to take a mech and attach it to a certain unit. I'll detail a little bit more later exactly how I use my mechs in Dread Mob. I like to have my mechs just standing next to like a Stompa and things like that, but we'll get into detail about that later.
And if you are going to attach one, I think you take Press It Fast over any of the other ones. I think the option to roll 2 is still really nice.
It is. I think that's thematic as hell, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's fun. I think it's super fun.
Yep. All right, so then we got some stratagems here. We got Clank and Claws, which is in the fight phase.
Yep.
One Ork Walker unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Each time you use this stratagem, you can choose to push it until the end of the phase. Add 2 to the strength characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit. And if you choose to push it, you can also add 1 to the damage characteristics, and then you gain hazardous. So basically, you gain 2 strength to your melee weapons, and if you want to get hazardous as well, you can give +1 damage.
Which is very strong.
Yep.
Very, very strong.
And we have a few of them.
Damage.
Yep.
+1 damage with Killicans. +1 damage with the Stompas.
Yep.
And
it's nice that it gives you the option. So if you're fighting like Gene Stealer Cult that everything's 1 wound, well, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So then we get Daka. Your shooting phase. 1 Ork Walker or Grot vehicle unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Each time you use this stratagem, you can push it. Till the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If you choose to push it, you can reroll the hit roll instead, and you gain hazardous. So a couple of them have this. Yeah, so a couple of them have this.
Yeah, Daka is so strong for a Stompa or a Killicans unit.
Yeah,
this is amazing. I love this one. It's going to be very good.
Yeah, especially on vehicles, which it only can go on vehicles. If they have lots of wounds, you go ahead and just get the full reroll because hazardous, you're only losing D3 anyway. It doesn't auto kill you like it does.
With Grot vehicles and Ork Walkers, which the Stompa is an Ork Walker.
Yep, and the Mechanaut, or what? Not the Gorkanaut and the Morkanaut. They're walkers too, right? All right, then we got the Super Fueled Boiler. Your movement phase, just after an Ork Walker unit from your army has been selected to advance. Till the end of your turn, you can reroll advanced rolls made for your unit, and ranged weapons equipped by the model unit have the assault ability. So you can reroll your advance, and all your weapons gain assault for Stompa.
Which is gross. So now you're moving your Stompa across the board. You're advancing with them and shooting.
Ugh.
So
Your
you're
advan-
moving 10. You're moving 10, potentially 16, and then shooting everything on the table. And
No,
most of their guns are from 36 to 24 to 100 for super rockets.
No, I'm going to advance with him so he can still do the action and give up all his shooting with the Stompa.
No. No, you won't.
All right, so then we got Conniving Runts. Your opponent's movement phase just after enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move. One Gretchen unit from your army that is within 9 inches of that enemy unit and not within engagement range. Roll 1d6. On a 4-up, that enemy unit suffers d3 plus mortal wounds, and then your unit can make a normal move.
Yep.
So basically, you get near the grots. On 4-up, they're doing mortals to you and then leaving.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
on the wording on this, if you fail the 4-up, do you still get to move and not do the mortals, or if you fail the 4-up, you don't get to do either? I was confused on that when I read that.
No, you can still. It says the unit can still make a normal move. You just suffer. You just kill a couple guys off because they probably accidentally ate the grenade or dropped the grenade in front of them or whatever it might be. Right.
All right.
It's essentially fire and fade, but a little bit more powerful.
All right. So they get to make a normal move no matter what. On a 4-up, they do mortals.
Yep.
Okay. Then we got bigger shells for bigger gets. Your shooting phase, 1 mech, orc, walker, or grot vehicle. Unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot. Each time you use this stratagem, you can choose to push it. At the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the wound roll. If you choose to push it, you can add 1 to the damage characteristic as well. Until the end of the phase, you gain hazardous. So this is another one where you can push it to gain an additional damage. So if you're fighting like knights or something, you can use this on them because they're vehicles, and then you can use the other one on something else in combat. So you can double two times, get +1 damage. That'll really help in those kind of matchups.
Yep.
Then we got extra gubbins. Your opponent
damage 5 rockets is crazy.
Ugh. With +1 to wound, damage 5 rockets.
Yes. Yes.
Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 walker or grot vehicle unit from your army, excluding Titanic. All right, so no Stompa here.
No Stompa.
To the end of phase, each time attack is allocated to a model unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic. So here you get a -1 damage. So that's not bad at all. Yeah, that's really strong. Depending on what you're shooting. If you're shooting at something that's hard to wound already, and you can also put -1 on it. Yeah. Or even if someone's trying to kill your grots, you make your grots minus. Oh, this is only walkers and grot vehicles.
Yeah, only walkers. So you put it on like killicans, right? People who want to kill your killicans really fast, and they're damaged 2 weapons. Now they're damaged 1.
Yeah, because Def Copters aren't grot vehicle, right? They're just regular vehicle.
Yeah, they're not grot vehicles. They're just regular.
So you can't. Gotcha. So this one is a little more restrictive on what units you can use on, but it is kind of still a useful strat. So I think this is a pretty solid detachment. You like this one a lot, right?
I think it's one of the most competitive ones. Yeah, out of the 6, there's 3 of them. I think it is the most competitive, and this is definitely one of them. It's like I said, you're not going to see a lot because there's not a lot of people who's going to drop $1,000 to actually build a very competitive list of Dreadmount. But then you will see some, right? And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this is very powerful. And a lot of them, because they're grots are actually manning a lot of these vehicles, right? Like in my list, I have mech guns. So a lot of things are hitting on 4s.
Yep.
And as you'll see on my list, I take 3 mechs, which gives a unit +1 to hit. So you put them next to killicans, you put them next to mech dreads, and you put them next to a Stompa, or you put one of those instead of the dreads. You put it onto a Morkanaut, hitting on 4s for all their weapons.
That's big for orcs.
Yeah.
All right, so then we got the Green Tide.
That's my second one. Yep.
All right, so their special rule is Mob Mentality. Each time an attack targets a boys unit from your army, models in that unit have a 5-up invul save against that attack. In addition, each time an attack targets an orc unit from your army, if it contains 10 or more models, reroll saving throw of 1 made against that attack. So that's nice. So
Now,
basically,
this one should have been called Orc Horde because this is the real Horde, even though it's the green tide, which is synonymous to the same thing.
yeah.
But this is the one where you want to take 120 boys, right? You want to plug in some pain bosses and 3 of them, and I'll tell you later on the list exactly why I chose the 2 characters to plug into the other 3 units. But this is a very strong one. You just get you a ton of boys. You run across the board. You teleport with some of them, right? And you just try to make your opponent kill 130 plus models.
Yep. Because the army special rule only works on boys units. So anything else you take is missing out on the special rule.
Yep. And boys are the only thing with boys in the new codex. So
all right. And then we got enhancements. We got ferocious show off, orc infantry model only. Each time the bearer fights, while resolving those attacks, add 1 to the strength characteristics of his weapons. If his unit contains 10 more models, you add 3 to his strength. So once again,
this is all right.
Once again, inspiring you to take more models. But yeah, you're going for more bodies than elite bodies. Yeah, so this isn't as
well.
needed.
It's strong in combination. Once you get into the stratagems, you'll see that there's stratagems that make you count as having 10 or more models, right? So you can combo that with the enhancement, but it's okay. Like orcs are very strong anyways. So the difference between wounding on 4s and 3s is not super big, right?
Yep. All right, so here we got orc infantry model only. Your command phase, if the bear's on the battlefield or within a transport, roll a d6, add 2 if his unit has 10 more models. On a 5-up, you gain 1 CP. Once again, if you're probably running some grots, cheap grots anyway, so this seems kind of redundant.
Yeah, you're running Gretchen anyways. You're running 3 units of Gretchen anyways. No matter what list you're running, you're running from 2 to 3 units of Gretchen. Yeah.
So then we got bloodthirsty belligerents or infantry model only. While leading a unit, you can reroll advance rolls made for that unit. While the unit contains 10 or more models, you can reroll charges as well. That seems nice.
Yeah.
Reroll advance, reroll charge.
Yes. Very strong. Yep.
All right. Then we got a Raucous Warcaller, infantry only. So all of these are infantry only. While the bearer is leading a unit, that unit always counts as containing 10 or more models for the purpose of your detachment rule and any stratagems you use.
Yep.
So that's nice.
So now you can get one with an enhancement to always count as 10, use a stratagem that helps you always count as 10, and then combo those with the stratagems that give you abilities for having 10 or more models.
Yeah, because this enhancement counts as 10 for detachment rule and stratagems, but not for other enhancements, whereas the strat counts for all 3.
Correct. Yep. So it's strong. So you can get 2 units to count and combo 10. On. It's strong.
Nice. Yep. So we got a competitive streak in the fight phase. 1 boys unit from your army that has not been selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If you have 10 or more models, reroll the wound as well as reroll all the wounds instead. That's nice. Then we got Come On Lads, your command phase, 1 boys unit, return D3 plus 2 models, so at least 3 up to 5. That could be useful, pumping a unit back up over 10 so you don't have to start triggering stuff again.
It gets really strong if you take a Pain Boy, because then becomes 2D3 plus 2.
Ooh, all right. So you have minimum 4 up to 8?
Yep.
Okay, that's real nice.
Yep.
Then we got Tie to Muscle, your charge phase, 1 boys unit from your army that is not declared a charge this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit declares a charge, add the current battle round number to the charge roll. So this gets better late in the game. This is really strong.
It is really strong.
Turn 5 charge. All right, let me just plus 5 it real quick.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but about that time, you hope that you've already killed everything with 130 plus boys already, right? By turn 5. So this army really, by turn 2 and 3, you really know what's going to happen to your game. So,
well, even turn 3, play 1 CP for plus 3.
It's still, plus 2 is still good.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So we got Bulldozer Brutality in the fight phase. one boys unit from your army that has not been selected to fight and is within engagement range of one or more units. Till the end of the phase, each time your unit is selected to fight, when determining which models in your unit are eligible to fight, any models that are within 3 inches of one or more enemy models eligible to fight. When resolving those attacks, such models can target one of those enemy units within 3 of them and within engagement range of their unit.
And because boys are less than an inch each base, right? So you get to fight essentially with
4
three
rank.
different. Yep, 3-4 ranks. Yep, 3 ranks. 3 ranks.
Well, if they're less than an inch, less than an inch, 3 of them would be just under 3 inches, right? So you could possibly get that 4th guy in.
Potentially 4, yeah.
Yes, that helps those big orc units just get all those attacks in.
All of them. Yep.
And then we got Go Get 'em. Your opponent's shooting phase just after the enemy unit has selected its targets. One boys unit from your army that was selected as a target of one or more attacking units attacks. After the attacking unit has shot your unit, you can make a Go Get 'em move. To do so, roll 1d6. Each model you move it in your unit can move the distance in inches up to the result, but you must end that move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. When doing so, those models can be moved within engagement range of the enemy unit. If your unit contains 10 or more models, you can just move a flat 6 as well. So this is nice. This lets you move toward the enemy, and if they're close enough, you can just move into engagement range.
Yep. Essentially what Blood Surge is for World Eaters and specifically Berserkers.
Yep.
And
And
you can Blood Surge right into a unit. Yep.
Wolfguard Battle Leaders give this to Thunderwolves as well.
Yep.
But ours is once per game. This is strat. You could do this multiple times throughout the game, so that's nice.
Sorry, 32 millimeters is actually 1.2 inches, so it's actually
you only get 3 ranks. All right, cool. So we're getting bragging rights here. Your command phase, 2 boys units from your army that are within 6 of each other. Till the start of your next command phase, while those 2 units are within 6 of each other, and they both count as containing 10 or more models for the purpose of your detachment rule. So actually, this one affects 2 units, and then so you could affect 3 units and heal 1. So you could possibly start the turn with 4 units under 10 models, and when it comes time to do stuff, they all count.
Yep. That's more than 10 models, yep, or 10 or more, yep.
All right, yeah, that's going to be real annoying to fight against.
It is. This
Bring
is actually.
Clock. If someone shows up with this, put them on a clock.
Don't weaponize your clock. Don't do that.
Weaponize your clock. Don't weaponize your 120 models to get me 3 turns.
People like to do that. You know, a lot of people have been implementing that too since Orks has come out. People are pushing for everyone to use clocks now.
Well, yeah, Horde Orcs, Horde Gene Stealers, Horde Nids. Depending on the person, if I know they're a good player and they're fast and we're going to get the game in, I won't do it. But if I don't know them, I'll put them on a clock just to make sure. But
it's a feel bad moment. As an organizer, it's a feel bad moment because you see people who get demoralized instantly if they've never used a clock before. See, there's 2 sides of that coin.
Yeah,
I know you're trying to look out for yourself, but remember, it's for your opponent's enjoyment as well. And as soon as you put a clock on somebody who doesn't understand the game too well, you got to tell them, look.
But if someone who doesn't understand the game too well brings 200 models and we get 3 turns in, then I'm going to feel bad.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's 2 sides of the coin, right? Everybody's going to feel bad about the whole situation.
Yeah. But I'm also the type, if they clock out and we're on turn 4 and it looks like we're going to finish the game, I'll let them finish the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to auto, but if they clock out and I'm like, yeah, you're still on your turn 2 and you used all your time, you were going to cost me 3 rounds, then I don't feel bad for them. Because if you want to bring that kind of list to a competitive environment, learn how to play it so that your opponent and yourself can both get 5 rounds in.
And it depends, too, what tournaments you go to.
Yep.
If you go to an open, right, they don't have any clocks. Matter of fact, they don't enforce clocks, and they tell you that this game wasn't designed to have a clock, right?
All right, well, then when my 3 hours run up, I'll tell them this game wasn't designed to be clocked.
Like, it all depends where you're at, right? You just got to follow the rules of whatever event you're at.
No, because I've been to tournaments, back in the day where they didn't do clocks, and if you got 2 rounds in, you got 2 rounds in, and people would intentionally bring armies that scored early and would play 2 rounds every round and win the event.
Semantics, but I get you. It can go tick for tack, right?
Yeah. Let's say, but if you're going to bring that many models, I would suggest learning to use a clock and learning to play your army fast so that you can play 5 rounds in 2.5,
At
3 hours.
least one or the other. At least one or the other.
Yeah. Well, I've learned to play on clocks because most people, if they came to an event hoping to do well, they don't want to get sandbagged by somebody who can't finish a game, so they're going to put you on a clock.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against you. It's just too many people bring those armies that don't know how to play the game and cause problems.
How we doing with chat? How's everything going with chat?
Nobody said anything yet.
All right. Come on, people, speak up. If you got some questions,
Well, we only got one watching now. We had 4 at one point, but
make sure you ask any questions if you have them.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem with streaming this early, a lot of people are just getting home from work, having dinner. So
yeah.
It's harder to get as many views this early in the day, I think.
So this is my favorite one because I like knobs and mega knobs, but I tech in more to knobs. Like I was telling you before, I like more attacks. But go ahead, Matt, take it away. Bully Boys is definitely the most competitive in my eyes for me and my play style, right? It's not everybody's play style. You might want to run 120, boys, but this is definitely my play style.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, figure your play style into figuring out what you want to play, because just because someone else says it's competitive, if it goes against the way you play the game, you're probably not going to do well with it.
100%. And people like to force it, right? A lot of people like to force a triangle into a circle peg hole, right? And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't stick, it doesn't sit, right? Don't do it, dude. Sometimes, or do that, right? Sometimes just situations don't work in your favor, even though you might like it aesthetically. You're either going to have to study really hard and practice that army very hard if you don't want to give up on it, or transition to another army. I've seen it with a lot of players get into an army because they like it aesthetically, but it's not their play style whatsoever. A lot of people are very passive, and then they try to play like an Ork army or World Eaters army or Harlequin army, and then they don't perform as well as other people because they're not that type of person, and it's just not their play style, right?
For most of the time, I will say, if you're running something like Harlequins, that's what I call a square hole army back in the day, because the triangle will fit in the square hole.
It will. That's why I didn't mention square. That's why I said circle.
Yeah, that Harlequin list, you didn't have to know how to play 40K to win with that.
Nope.
All right, so let's get back into this Bully Boys detachments. We got the bosses watching. At the start of the battle round, in which you have not called a WA, if you have one or more Warboss models on the battlefield or embarked within a transport that is on the battlefield, you can call a WA for a second time this battle. When doing so, the second WA only counts as having been called for Warboss, Knobs, and Mega Knobs.
I remember, people, if you have a Warboss that's attached to a unit, they gain keyword Warboss.
Yep.
So that unit gets it as well. So, for example, I have Squig Hogs in my army. They don't get this by themselves. If you put a Warboss on Squigosaur, all of a sudden they get a second WA now.
Yep. And yeah, this has to be the second WA. You can't do it before the other WA because it specifically says it has to be your second WA. So you can't use this first and save the WA for the other people. You have to use this as the second one.
People are taking it because they're teching into the 4-up Feel No Pain.
Yep.
I take it for the advance in charge and doing 120 plus attacks with 3 units of 10 knobs.
Ooh.
Because they're 40 each, 40, 80, 120, right? Plus you got characters attached to each one of those. That's how I like to play this list. Other people like to play it very slow and methodically where they're playing defensively. I'm very offensive and try to be offensive to my opponents too.
Yeah. And speaking of Mega Knobs, you got the teleporter here, Warboss and Mega Armor. He gives his unit Deep Strike.
He does. Very strong. I love it.
Yep.
Very, very strong. Yep.
The Big Gob, which is an infantry Warboss. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit with engagement range of the bearer. That unit must take a battle shot test, and when doing so, subtract 1 from the result. That's okay. If they happen to fail, maybe you stop them from using some strats, but I don't think you waste points on that, personally.
Nah, you use this on high, or low, whatever, however you want to look at it, but you use it on units, or armies like Orcs, you use it on Gene Stealer Codes, you use this predominantly on armies, which is very selective, right?
Yeah, say, but for a
So
tournament, I don't think you spend points on this hoping you run
nah.
into one of those.
But remember, everybody, if we're talking competitive here completely, right? But we're also going to speak about things that maybe you're just playing at home with your friends, right? So it can be thematic as well. Some of these things, right?
Everything, yeah, a lot of this is competitive gear, but yeah, any of this is detachment. If you know your opponent's running knights or Monsterzilla Nids, then you can run the detachment we said isn't that good. That
Yeah,
specifically, yeah. So anytime you're playing backyard garage hammer, a lot of this goes out the window because you're playing different ways. You know what you're facing. You know what they like to play. You know how
yeah.
they play. Maybe you're doing custom scenarios. So yeah, so we talk a lot more geared toward competitive, but yeah, a lot of this changes if you're just doing like garage hammer.
100%.
All right, so then we got the biggest boss, infantry war boss. Add two to the wounds characteristic.
I take this all the time.
Yep.
Every list that I've written so far with the mega armored war boss, I always take it on him. It makes him, I believe it was 8 wounds,
So you give
either
him
8 or
this
9.
as opposed to the deep strike.
Yeah, because I put them in trucks. I don't do the deep strike. I think that
Gotcha.
strategic reserves is just as good, if anything, right? Um, I think strategic reserves instead of taking the teleporter, right? And points wise, when I'm building these lists, I don't have the extra points for teleporter. I think a teleporter is amazing. I just don't think my list that I'm constructing, right? I take teleporter with it. I just take strategic reserves.
Kurt's in the chat. He says, "What's up, boys?
What's up, baby? How you doing, Kurt?
Couple more weeks, Kurt. We're getting out of here." All right. So
Ed
then,
Stomper?
yep, Ed Stampa, infantry war boss model only. Each time the bearer makes an attack that targets a unit that is below its starting strength, reroll a wound roll of 1. If that unit is below half strength, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So if they've taken any damage, you can reroll wounds of 1. If they're below half, you can reroll all your wound rolls. I'm personally annoyed by these type of triggers for stuff. Like, I'm like, just give me something I do or I don't do it. I have to remember. Are you how many models did you start with? Where do you like?
Yeah, it's like Space Wolves, right? Like you have to jump through a fire hoop in order to get something. This is
Yeah,
exactly how it feels. And to your point, right? Since orcs don't shoot that well, anyways, the only time this is really beneficial to you before you hit a fresh, brand new unit, right? Is that you have to either shoot them going in, throw some grenades, which most orcs units have grenades now,
yeah,
or or something other than that, right?
yeah. Because for the way of things order, so if he's with a unit and they charge in, and the unit attacks, and now the enemy's below half strength, does he count them as below half strength, or since they're all considered to happen simultaneously, does he still count them as what strength they were before any of his units swung?
It's the beginning of the attack, and
That's what I thought.
yep.
Yeah,
So that means that you have to complete all of your attacks, right? And then once all of your attacks are done, including characters in there, then it could benefit a second unit.
yeah, gotcha. All right, that's what I thought. So I know a lot of people don't think that, like, that wasn't my initial thought at the beginning of this edition, but they've ruled that some other places where the whole unit, even the character, all counts as the same time, so you can't gain that benefit halfway through the combat.
Correct. And because it doesn't say fight, which is a good point and a tip for people who don't know this, right? Because it doesn't say fight, you could use this on fight on death.
Yeah, and for shooting, yeah, this is just anytime they attack.
Yeah.
So maybe if you had infantry war bosses don't get good shooting weapons.
No.
No. I was thinking like, but no, there's no way to give it. No.
Yeah, orcs just don't shoot well unless you're going into the dread mob.
They got that one guy left you need to kill. Your war boss takes him out with a pistol with his reroll wound. I mean,
exactly. Grenades, like I said, a lot of orc unit now, they have grenades, right?
yep.
So that's like your best way to actually kill models now. So
yeah, but maybe you charge it.
Tank shock too.
Yeah, but maybe you charge into 2 units into like a big Terminator, something really hard to kill unit. Maybe then the second unit would get to benefit from this, but I don't think you'll benefit enough from it, even though the rule sounds good, to take this.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so then we got some strats. We got arm to the teeth.
Strong.
Your shooting or fight phase, one knob or mega knob unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Till the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack reroll hit roll of 1. If WA is active, reroll the hit roll instead. Yep, so rerolls are always nice.
Yep. Which I use this every game that
Well,
I
especially
play.
they put out a lot of attacks. That's a lot of rerolls.
And you get 2 WAs, right? So you're re-rolling twice.
Oh, that's a good point with this. Yep. Because that's yeah, because both those units always will benefit from that second WA.
Yep.
All right, then we got Crushing Impact. Your charge phase, just after knobs or mega knobs unit from your army ends a charge move. Select one enemy unit within engagement range of your unit. Roll a d6 for each model in your unit within engagement range of that enemy unit. On a 5-up, they take a mortal wound to a maximum of 6. If the WA is active, it triggers on a 4-up.
It's just a better battle tank shock, right? And
Yep.
then the WA is just a better tank shock. That's it.
And
Which is awesome.
And it's in engagement range, so depending on how well you roll your charge, depends on how many you get in. So you may think, oh, I might use this, but then only 2 guys actually get an engagement range.
Correct.
Because this is after your charge move, before your pile in. So you need a good charge to get a lot of bodies in to be worth doing this, I think.
True indeed.
Then we got Too Arrogant to Die. Sounds like me. Your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One knob or mega knob unit for your army that was selected as a target of 1 or more of the attacks. To the end of the phase, each time a model unit is destroyed, if that model has not shot or fought this phase, roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result if the WA is active. For unit on a 5-up, do not remove the destroyed model from play. It can shoot or fight after the attacks and then is removed from play. So if you're in the WA, it's on a 3-up. So mega knobs and knobs, they can get a little bit of decent shooting, or is this really only going to be useful in combat?
Combat.
All right, so yeah, this is really only going to be useful in combat for the most part.
If you have Gazgul attached to a Mega Knobs unit, like it could be decent for shooting.
Yeah, because he got a nice gun. Yeah.
Yeah, because he gives you +1 to hit across the board for everything and +1 to move.
I didn't even think about Gaz. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so it could be decent, a little bit better. I actually kind of use that. And when I run Gazgul, I don't take twin kill slots with Gazgul because I don't need that higher strength. With Gazgul, I want the more attacks because I'm already getting +1 to wound.
True. All right, so then we got Cut Him Down. Your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit is selected to fall back. One knob or mega knob unit from your army that was within engagement range of that unit. When the unit falls back, all models of the enemy unit must take a desperate escape test. If the WA is active, subtract 1 from those tests.
I love this, dude.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. I almost killed a Nemesis Dread Knight with this.
Oh, yeah, because if the WA is active, you got a 1 in 3 chance of taking out models.
Yep. Somebody tried to take a Riptide out one time.
Yeah, you roll that 1 or 2.
Or 3. No, it's 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, is Desperate Escape normally a 1 or 2?
Yes.
You sure? I think, wasn't it a 1, and then if you're battle shocked, it's a 1 or 2? Or no, I haven't come across it enough.
1, 2, or 3.
Oh, that's so 50-50. That's gross. Yeah, that's. Ugh. All right, so then we got Always Looking for a Fight. Fight phase just after enemy unit is destroyed. One knob or mega knob unit from your army that destroyed that enemy unit. To the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a consolidation move, it can move D3 +3 instead of 3. If the WA is active, it can move 6 instead. So you get a 6-inch consolidation if your WA is active. Now, consolidation is still really restricted in this edition, but if you're positioned right, you could take an objective or fall into another unit still.
Correct.
Especially with the extra 3 inches. That makes it easier to do some of that stuff.
Yep. Taking objectives is really what you use that for, right? So as long as there's no enemy units by you that you can actually tag into.
Yeah,
you go jump into an objective marker, right? And then on your turn, so this is really good use, right? If you go first, because if you get it at the end, then your opponent can't. Let's say they can't see you, right? Then you hold it on your next turn.
Yep.
You get some extra primary points, which is strong.
Oh, absolutely. So we got Hulking Brutes. Opponent's shooting phase. Just an enemy unit has selected its targets. One knob or mega knob unit from your army is selected as the target. Worsen AP by 1. So basically, armor attempts for knobs and mega knobs.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, yep. That's always a gauge strat. So somebody shooting with AP 1. Oh, now it's AP 0 in the mega knobs. Parked in cover or something. Like, yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yep. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, exactly. Imagine you're in cover already, right?
Yep.
And then you -1 them to their AP. Now you're just rolling your 2-ups, no matter if it's AP 2 or not.
Yep. Kurt says any proper, or it's not Kurt. Chris says, Winans, any proper Big Mech has all the toys already. So he's saying, if you're a real orc, you have all the models to run any of these already. No, none of these bandwagon orcs. You better have been collecting for years, he says.
Yeah, that dude has been purchasing orcs for the beginning of his time.
Pretty much, yeah, almost as long as I've known him.
Yeah. Since birth, probably, he came out with a Stompa.
Yep. All right, so that's all the detachments. Yep. So we're already at an hour, so we're not going to jump into data sheets. You want to jump into the 3 lists you wrote, Lewis?
Let's do it. Let's start off with Bully Boys, please.
All right, let me pull that up. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. So we're just gonna talk about these. We're not actually gonna have them shown. But
that's perfect.
All right, so let's go up here. Look at these Bully Boys you sent me. So just a quick refresher of what this detachment did. We don't have to get into a deep, but show them what's the concept of this list.
So the concept of the list is I have Gaz, a Pain Boy, 2 War Bosses, and a War Boss and Mega Armor. All right. So Gaz Gold goes attached to a unit of 6 Mega Knobs. Now these Mega Knobs have the custom shooters and a PK Power Claw. Right. The reason why I went with PK instead of twin kill saws, because everyone's loving twin kill saws, is that Gaz actually gives you +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And because you're taking PK with the custom shooters, you have 1 extra attack and you hit on 3s, right? So now you're running in with Gazgo on the charge. You're hitting on 2s. You have 3 attacks naturally, 4 attacks on the charge. And then you're wounding +1 and you're already strength 10, right? So most things, except for like knights, you're wounding on either 3s or 2s, right? Knights, you're wounding on 4s now, right? Because normally you would wound on 5s, +1 to wound, you're wounding on 4s now, right? Very, very, very strong. You get more attacks, so now you have 6 dudes, 4 attacks each. That's 24 attacks. You can also pop a CP to re-roll hits, right? So you're only re-rolling once. I don't know if it has any value, really. It could, right? You might roll 1 or 2 ones, things like that, based on the stratagems. So that's very good. Also, I'm running a Pain Boy and one of the knobs unit that I'm taking I'm taking 3 knobs units on this list, okay? So I have 3 knobs units, 10 man. I take a Pain Boy in 1 because the Grot Oiler gives me the ability to bring D3 models back. So it's only once per game, right? But also he heals D3 every command phase. All right. Very strong. +5 up, feel no pain on that unit. And if you know the knobs, they have an innate ability where they're -1 to wound if your strength is higher than their toughness, right? So now you're -1 to wound. On top of that, you have a 5 up, feel no pain. And if you're in the wall, you have a 5+ invulnerable save. So it becomes very, very hard to kill them, especially if you got the Pain Boy in there and he's rezzing dudes right back, right? So Very, very strong. Then I have 2 war bosses and the other 2 10-man war Knob Squad. On one of them, I have Ed Stomper. Ed Stomper is like we talked about, it's very selective. It's very subjective, rather, right? Most of the time, when you're hitting something, they're going to be below starting strength at least. So you'll at least be able to reroll ones to wound. So I think that has some good value when you're hitting with that unit, especially that I had the points left over, right? And then war bosses always give you +1 to hit. So war bosses giving you +1 to hit with the knobs unit, very strong, right? Now you're hitting on 2s or 3s rather. So now you're hitting on 3s. You could potentially pop a stratagem on them instead, right? Because you can't do it twice on the same stratagem. But you could do it on them instead because they have so many more attacks. So you have 40 attacks. So you have 3 attacks standard, 4 attacks on the wall for each model. So that's 10 models at 40 attacks. Plus you have a war boss attached to them for 9 more attacks. You have 49 attacks on a charge with a knobs unit. Hitting on 2s for the war boss. Hitting on 3s for the knobs. Then you pop the stratagems to give them full rerolls in the wall, right? And then if that unit started a little bit under strength, which I advise you to take a grenade and just throw a grenade on there just to try to plink a model, take a model off on there. Now you're re-rolling ones to wound as well. So you're theoretically, on most situations, you're hitting on 2s with everything, re-rolling, wounding on 2s, re-rolling ones.
Gotcha.
Right?
All right.
So very strong.
Yeah. So that's the concept. I'll just run quick through the exact mod units in it, but that's the main way you can play. So you got Gaz, you got the Pain Boy, you got the 2 war bosses, and then 1 war boss in mega armor, 4 trucks, 1 10-man
4 trucks.
Yep, 4
for the
trucks.
3 knobs, 1 mega knobs, and then Gazgul with his unit, they go into strategic reserves. I've seen that they're way too slow on the tabletop, so I usually put them in strategic reserves.
All right. Then we got Gretchen with a Runthurder, 10-man. The 6 mega knobs that I believe they're the ones you said run with Gaz.
Yep, with the PKs. Yep.
All right. Then we got a 5 mega knob that's going with one of the war bosses in a truck.
Yep.
Then we got 2 knob squads, both 10-man, and they're going. Or no, 3 knob squads.
3 knob squads, but all 10-man. Yep.
All 10-man. Yep. And they're going in the other 3 trucks. Then we got 2 Stormboy 5-man units. Oh no, 3 Stormboy 5-man units.
That's right. Because they innately advance and charge now without taking any penalties like they used to. They used to just kill a guy.
Yeah.
Now they actually just advance and charge and fall back in charge, right? So very strong. And you can put them out there as either to get objectives, right? That's what I mostly use them for. Or you can put them out as screening units to tag units real quick while the rest of your army gets there.
So. Do Stormboys deep strike, or is that something you start on the table all the time?
I start them on the table all the time, but it's very subjective too, depending on what I'm playing against, how much terrain I have to hide behind, right? How close I am, how close my opponent is deploying his army. Yeah. So it's very subjective. It could be anything.
Do they have the option to deep strike? I know sometimes they do, sometimes they don't in different editions. Or can they only go in strategic?
No, they have deep strike.
Good. That's good. That's a useful thing to have in the toolbox.
Yeah. Storm Boys have deep strike. And Nate.
All right. And then next up, we got the Dread Mob or Dread Mafia. I guess this time I'll just run through the list real quick, and then we'll have you break it down.
Yeah.
So we got 2 mechs. One of them has the super glowy thing. So if you have 3 mechs, one has the super glowy thing. 1, 2, 3 squads of Gretchen as your battle line. 10-mans with Runtherders and all. Then we got 1 Death Dread, 2 Death Dread, 3 Death Dread, 3 units of 3 Killicans, 3 units of mech guns with Bubble Chucka, a Stompa. Ooh, all right. Let's hear about this list. Let's hear about the Stompa.
All right. So what I do is I take that mech, I put them within 3 inches of that Stompa within 3 inches of that Stomper, he gains the Lone Op ability.
Nice.
Right? So he gains Lone Op. Also, within 3 inches of an Ork vehicle, right? They can help them regain up to D3 lost wounds and +1 to hit. So now that Stomper is hitting on all of their weapons on 4s. All right. Then you try that button and you pump them up with the stratagems. It's a lot of shots, potentially +2 damage, right? Depending on what you might take it on, depending on what you might be shooting, right? So you can get up to some of these weapons because he's already strength 10. The Stomper is strength 10 in close combat. Okay.
So and you give him, do you go for the sustained hits 1 on the button?
I do. I go for the sustained hits, right? And then I try to pop a stratagem to try that button to go to hazardous. I don't care, right? It's 30 wounds. It's 30 wounds. I'm not going to kill him turn 1, right? Or the first time that I shoot him. It's not going to kill him, right? He doesn't have enough weapons to roll that many dice to kill him, even if he is taking 3 wounds for every single one, right? But he has that Mega Chopper, the strength 24, AP 5, 10 damage, right? Just gross. Or 18 on the sweep, strength 10, AP 2, 3 damage. He has a Super Gatler, this 20 attacks, strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage. So you can get that up to 4 damage potentially, right? +1 strength as well on that stratagem. So you can be strength 8. Hitting on 5s, but with the big mech, hits on 4s. So that could get very strong. Then the mech guns. The mech guns with the bubble chuckers are very strong. They all hit on 4s. It's people don't like it because it's not stagnant where you're gonna get the potential ability to get the weapon type that you want, right? Because one of the weapon types, if you roll a 1 or a 2, is really only going to kill infantry. Mm-hmm. It's like strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. It's not super strong. But because I'm playing orcs, I want to do it the fun way. I'd rather try to fish for that 3, 4, 5, or 6, right? 5 and 6 being the stronger of the mech gun for the bubble chucker. It has the ability to get up to, I want to say, D6 +1, I think it was. Let me double check that. So no, actually, strength 12, AP 3, D6 +3.
Ooh. Is it blast or no?
And it's blast and it's D3 shots within 48 inches. All right. And these are all 48 inches. And then if you roll a 3 or 4, it's strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage flat, hitting on 4s. And that's D6 shots. And then 2 D6 shots, hitting on 4, strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. And they're all blast.
Yep.
Right. So if you run 3 of those for 50 points a pop, very strong. I think they can be very strong. Kind of tech you into hitting and destroying really whatever you want with 3 of those units. So that's my philosophy. Now you got Killicans. I put another mech unit, or I don't attach, or put in rather. I put a mech next to a Killican. One of the 3 units of 3 that I have, right? And I take the last one, I put it next to the other one. So now you have 2 mech units hitting on 4s, I believe, or maybe they're manned by grots. So now they're hitting on 3s.
Yeah.
All right. With all of them having rockets. So how many rockets do you get in there? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, my peoples. So you get 2 rocket launchers, 4 rocket launchers. All right. So now you have 4 rocket launchers. So you're 4D3, hitting on 3, strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. And if you start pumping stratagems into them, they're going to get really good.
Oh, yeah.
With try that button, press that button, right? So Killicans, I think, are the creme de la creme of this list. I have 3 units of 3, so that's 9 of them. I believe you can get up to 18 Killicans. I don't know if I would go that high. Maybe Um, maybe 2 units of 6 and then 1 of 3. I'd probably go maybe drop the Death Dreads. I do have 3 units of Death Dreads. They are actually 5 points more than the Killicans of 3 are. So, but in my mind, I took Death Dreads because I wanted to kind of screen out, right? I want Death Dreads to kind of be on the front lines, right? They go in there, they try to stop everything from going past your deployment zone. Excuse me, and have to basically take the brunt of all the shots that are coming in from your Stompas and your Killicans. So basically, they're just your pit stop unit, right? They just stop units from doing what they want to do. You charge into them, stop them from charging you, stop them from charging your Killicans and your Stompas.
And they look scarier than Killican, so a lot of people might soak
Yeah.
fire from the other stuff that you're trying to save.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, and then to top it off, we have 3 Gretchen units. So Gretchen units are just going to be your junkies just running around trying to do objectives for you, right? If they need to, someone gets too close, there's a stratagem where basically they can fire and fade by doing mortal wounds. So you can do that. But the Gretchen are just going to get you your points. Everything else is just you're going to shove them up people's faces, and you have the potential of shooting more than 120 shots with this list.
Yep, and the Gretchen are hopefully getting you extra CP every turn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you could just pump them up with all the stratagems and trying that button, getting hazardous, getting that +1 strength, +1 damage. So yeah, it gets really gnarly. And then the last one.
All right, last one. You got Green Tide here. So we got 1, 2, 3 Pain Boys.
3.
Warboss with the enhancement Brutal but Cunning. A Warboss with the enhancements Bloodthirsty Belligerence. Then just a regular Warboss. A Weird Boy with enhancement Ferocious Show Off. And then 2 other Weird Boys. So you got 3 of each character. Some of them have enhancements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 20-man boy squads with the knob with power claws. 1, 2, 2 10-man Gretchen squads with front herders.
Yep.
1, 2 10-man Storm Boy squads.
That's right. That's right. So basically how this works is, and this is how it works on the table. You take the Storm Boys, all right? You advance and charge them. Turn 1, if you can, all right? Stop everything your opponent's army from coming towards you, right? From shooting you, from whittling down those boy knobs. Those boy units, right? You want those boys to go across the field and put all of their attacks into the units that you're fighting against. All right? So they're essentially your fast, I'm going to get in your face units until they die and your boys get there. Then your boys. Now, let me break down my strategy on why I took 3 weird boys with 3 war bosses, okay? And on the Green Tide, and boys specifically in their data sheet, they can take 2 leader units, but one has to be a war boss, all right? So I take a war boss and a weird boy. The reason is now you have 3 units that can teleport anywhere on the tabletop, right? Is it going to be challenging sometimes because you have 22 models? Yes. All right. But who cares? Because you want to be able to take objective markers. If you're still surviving late game, right? That unit can now teleport across the board. If you have behind enemy lines and they left it wide open, right? Because they try to get out to kill all your orc boys. Now you could take behind enemy lines with that. Or try to at least, right? On top of that, weird boys they have an ability for their Edbanger, right? Where it's a psychic ability where it's +4. So it's +1 for every 5 boys that you have in that unit. It could go up to +4 strength. On top of that, it's +4 damage. All right. So the psychic ability is 1 damage. It goes up to 5 damage and it has precision. All right. Even though it's 1 shot and it's hitting on 4s, even though it's one shot, now you have 3 of them. If you have some characters, some pesky characters, or some pesky units where you just want to put some precision, 5 damage psychic ability into, you could potentially do 15 damage with 3 of the Weird Boy units jumping around trying to target characters, right? I think it's very fun. I think it's very thematic, especially when it comes to the Green Tide. Also, you have the Warboss in there to make everything a lot easier for you to hit in close combat because it's +1 attack across the board, right? Then you have that 5+ invul, and then you have that reroll once to save as long as you have 10 models or more in that unit. Then I have the 3 units with the Pain Boys in it. This is where it gets real gnarly, where we're talking about with the stratagem, right? The stratagem gives you D3 +2 models to bring back for boys, all right? With the Grot Oilers, for the Pain Boys, you get an additional D3. So you're 2D3 +2, or at least D3 for each of your boys' units. And on top of that, you have a 5+ invul all the time. You have a reroll once to save, as long as you have more than 10 models. And you have a 5+ feel no pain. So those boys become very highly resilient, right? And what don't you love about having, so you got 120 boys, 20 Gretchen, 9 characters, and 20 Storm Boys. That's 169 models.
Well, do the Runt Herders count? Are those 11-man units, the Gretchen?
I'm sorry, you're right.
It's 171 models.
171 models. 171 models. You're gonna hold every objective. So what I would do if I'm playing this list, right? And I'm gonna play this list very soon. As soon as I buy 6 box sets of boys, right? Or 12 boxes of boys. I'll just flood the board in a triad style. No matter what, I will always flood myself to basically get closest to the 3 closest objective markers and just sit everything on the just objective markers and flood my entire backboard so you can't deep strike behind me. And good luck trying to chew through all of that. 171 models.
Well, I don't need to chew through all that because you're going to chew through all your time on the clock.
Hey, all I have to do is move them up there, and that's it.
I'm here. I'm done.
That's it. I'm done. And wait for you to charge me, and that's okay. As soon as you charge 1 unit, you kill 120 boys unit. Now I have 3 charging you and killing that unit. So we can trade. We can trade all you want. I have way more units than you do. So yeah, so that's the breakdown on what I think is the 3 most competitive units here on Almost Functional. I think that the one that's going to be used the most is going to be Bully Boys. Then I think it's going to be Green Tide and then Dread Mob. Like I said, the 2 bottom ones, right, Green Tide and Dread Mafia, as I like to call it, are going to be your most dinero, lots of money to actually play into those. So you're going to see a lot of Bully Boys, which is going to be a little boring, to be quite honest with you. Because it's the cheapest to get into. You don't have to buy as many models. But it's one of the coolest, and it might play towards your playstyle. And it definitely plays towards my playstyle. So.
And I think you'll see some speed freaks because they look like they have some play. They're not trash, but they're one step below the other 3.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think they're trash. I don't think any of them are trash. I just think that.
Well, the Beast Snaggle one, I think competitively might be just because it's pigeonholing you into only getting buffs against certain types of armies, and if you don't draw those, you're coming in with no buffs.
Yeah, but if you could get 3 units of Squig Hog boys, right, with war bosses in all of them, so you could have 27 models of just Squig Hogs, and you're scouting 9 inches, that could get pretty nasty. I'm just saying.
Well, only one of them gets to scout.
I think it was select 3 of them. I don't know. There was a way to get all 3 of them to do it.
Okay, I know there was the enhancement for the one boss gave it to his unit.
Yeah. But still, even having 1 and then having 2 right behind them, right?
Bring them closer to my Thunderwolves. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's going to be a fun one. I don't think any of them is trash. I think the War Horde one is going to probably be the champion in a lot of ways because of all the sustained hits and the critical hits on fives and all of the good stratagems and enhancement that you have on those. It has a lot more utility than I think than any of the detachments.
It's most versatile.
I think it's the most versatile out of all of them. But to each their own. Hopefully, you guys have an amazing time with the orgs. I'm gonna have an amazing time. I have a RTT that I'm gonna go to this weekend. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yep, and catch us next Tuesday on Lewis's channel doing the next episode of the OCS.
That's right.
Oh, I probably won't be there. I might be working, but Lewis, Nick, and is Todd going to be there?
Todd should be there as well. So we're going to be talking about orcs. We're going to be talking about T-Suns, Thousand Suns, and Necrons.
Yeah. And I may get on the day after and give a little spiel on Wolves about that thing if I'm not able to make the show that night.
Yeah. Hopefully you do, man. Hopefully you do. If you don't, we love you. We'll miss you.
Yeah. But got to pay the bills, right?
Got to pay the bills. Most important thing in life.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you, Lewis. That's where we're going to wrap it up now. We'll catch you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.
Take care, everyone. Whoa!